Welcome to Sasquatch and Sourdough, the podcast where we embark on a journey into the depths of the unknown, weaving together threads of ancient scripture, tales of high strangeness, and the joys of nature. Whether you're a seeker of truth, a lover of the great outdoors, or simply hungry for a good story, Sasquatch and Sourdough invites you to join us on a journey of discovery, wonder, and deliciousness. So grab your backpack, sharpen your senses, and prepare to explore the sacred mysteries of our highly strange world like never before.
Welcome to the first episode of Sasquatch and Sourdough. I'm your host, Christina, and I am with my beautiful best friend, Crystal.
Hi.
It's the first episode.
Yay. Hello, everyone.
We've been prepping very excitedly for like a month. And I wanted to say I'm really proud of us.
Me too.
Because every Friday for a month, we have done an outing.
Mm-hmm.
We have attempted to record.
Yes.
And what you do consistently sticks. So I'm very proud of us for doing this.
Yeah.
And we've been having a lot of fun. So this is the first episode. Welcome. Yeah. And I guess, I don't know, should we go into the backstory? I guess the whole backstory of this is we are just two best friends that like camping.
Strange.
Yeah, weird stuff, camping, cooking.
Yep.
All of that.
We're two moms.
Two moms.
Mm-hmm. We like to cook. We like to camp. We
Yep.
like weird stuff.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to have a conversation.
Yeah. And I want to get other people's feedback and stuff. So we're trying to build a little community. So we hope that, you can be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yay. So it's springtime in Baltimore. We are based in Baltimore and it's springtime here. And for the first time since we planted it, our lilac actually bloomed.
Mine too.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
How long?
Mine took about 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5, maybe 7 years. It took a very long time.
And it went through a mold stage.
I don't know if mine did that. I stopped paying attention to it.
Yeah, we
I was
did the
this
same
thing
thing.
is never going to bloom.
Yeah.
And then now it's outside of my dining room window. And when you walk past with the window open, you can smell it. And I'm like,
So
pretty.
What color is it?
It's lilac. It's lavender.
I mean, what? Yeah.
Lilac's a color, isn't it?
Yes. But I forgot that it's just shades of purple. Mine's dark.
lavender.
Mine's deep purple.
Oh, so mine's pale purple.
Oh.
Almost white.
Yeah, so my allergies is all crazy too. Yep.
We've been having a good time driving around where we live, investigating all these different stories. We've been to places we've never been to before in our hometown.
It's been very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I think we're ready in the kitchen. And today is a very special day in my house because we're making beef jerky.
Yes, beef jerky.
My husband got a dehydrator, I think probably 3 years ago, and has been making beef jerky ever since. And it's a journey.
He's really good at it.
It's really fun,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes a long time.
So how does it work?
So, and I can always put the recipe. He has a secret recipe. Oh my gosh, he also has a spreadsheet.
Oh, wow.
I'm totally throwing him under the bus because he's in the office and he can't hear me.
He's very organized.
He's a very organized person. He you can't stop laughing about it. He has this whole morning. He last night. So he marinated. He has 2 different cuts. So one is thinner, one's a little bit chunkier.
Yeah.
Each bag is marked,
Wow.
and then it's the same marinade.
Yeah.
So I think he does a base of vinegar and brown sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And then a cup, just whatever seasoning he sort of comes up with. So it's a basic sort
Yeah.
of, I guess, yeah, just a basic sort of rub
Okay.
of and then you marinate the meat for, I think he did 18 hours.
Wow.
So it's overnight. overnight.
Yeah.
And then after we're done recording, he's going to, we didn't know if the machine was going to really make a lot of noise.
Oh, okay.
So otherwise we'd have it running in the background. But the first couple of times he made it, it was like, I'm a person that is afraid of any kind of fire, so I just unplug everything.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And it drove me crazy that, like, we had to keep it plugged in overnight.
I thought you were going to say you unplugged it.
No.
Okay. Ruined the beef jerky.
Ruined the beef jerky. But so that's what's going on in our kitchen today. So I'm really excited. I'll link the recipe and we can tell you guys about how it tasted. But it was just, this whole morning has been beef jerky. And we're making fun of him because he has a spreadsheet. Which is so funny.
The organized man.
Yes.
It's a good thing to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. So today we wanted to talk about a really kind of cool story from the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to pick it up?
Sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So this story comes from Loch Raven Reservoir. It's north of Baltimore County. And it happened on October 26, 1958. Two men were driving down the road that goes through Loch Raven. And right before they got to the bridge, which is around a little bend in the road, they saw an egg-shaped object hovering in the sky. The object had lights all around it, and it basically like showed, I don't know, I guess it would be like a glow.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing just
It was like an
glowed.
iridescent white glow.
Mm-hmm. So they saw it and they were like, what is that thing? So they decided to try to get as close as they could. But when they got to about 75 to 80 feet from it, their car stopped. Completely stopped. The headlights went off. The electricity in the car, like all of the dashboard lights and everything went off. The engine stopped. So they stopped the car and they were scared.
Yeah.
They couldn't figure out why the car went off.
That's crazy.
So like, what would you do in that situation? You know, that they didn't know what to do.
There's no context for that.
Yeah. So there wasn't anywhere for them to like hide because they're coming out of the forest about to go over this bridge. And the one guy said in his report, like, if there was somewhere where we could have ran and hid, we would have. But it happened so quickly, the only thing they thought to do was get behind the car and, like, put the car between them and the object.
Yeah.
So the one guy said you could hear it. It was like a whirring sound, you know?
Like a mechanical?
Like a, yeah, like a mechanical whirring sound.
Yeah.
And, they watched it for a couple minutes, and then it emitted a very intense bright light, and they felt the heat on their faces from that bright light. And as the bright light was happening, it emitted a different sound that was like either a boom or an explosion, and then it lifted vertically straight up into the air and disappeared. And that was it. Then it was gone, and then the car turned back on, and everything was fine. Like, it didn't even happen.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
whatever it was, it affected.
Mm-hmm. It was hovering, and it was like it was bright, but it wasn't like heat on our faces bright.
Yeah.
And I guess it had to get enough energy with the light and the booming sound to lift up and disappear. Because I guess, I don't know. I guess it saw them, or it was like, hey, somebody sees us. Let's get out of here. Who knows?
And so, like, to paint, I guess, a picture for the listener, you know, we are familiar with this. This is Loch Raven Reservoir. This is, we spent high school nights driving through. Like, that's what you did. You drove through the reservoir.
Yeah. When you live here, it's like a cool place to go.
Yeah. Like, we were literally, my husband and our son, we were on a boat 2 weeks ago. Like, we took, you know, you can rent boats and you can go, you're not allowed to go under that bridge, but you can go under that bridge. So this is like our, you know, recreation. We spend so much time there, fishing, hiking. I mean, it's a beautiful spot. It's over 2,000 acres.
Yeah.
But in the 50s, I mean, that's it. This story is so cool and so crazy to me because they have no context for this.
Yeah.
Like, in the 50s, it's not like there was actually like a follow-up article that was written because the reason we have this information is because everything was released. Like, we finally have, like, in our hands actual X-Files, which is amazing. Like, I was seriously going to call you last night and be like, oh my gosh, like, somebody's pop-up is Fox Mulder. Like, this is amazing. Like, this is so cool.
Christina was able to pull up the the investigation reports from Andrews Air Force Base.
If you go, so I mean, I can always put the links to our references, but I strongly encourage people to just go and do your own research always. But like the National Archives, if you just go to National Archives and you pull this, you can just like look in. And I think if you put in like, I just searched like UFO Maryland, and it pulled up from the Blue Book. So this is this is classified information, and it's cool because when you so I printed all these pages out of the report. It's like a 30-page report, and like there's one page where it's like handwritten. It just says like UFO file. Like I love that, and it's like typed up. So I don't know about like the Air Force. Like it was probably men typing it because like that's who was in the Air Force at the time,
especially in the 50s.
But I love the idea of some of these. When you go through, it's like that was somebody's job. Like somebody in a typing pool, some lady is sitting there like typing up classified reports. Like it could be your Nana.
Well, that was the rest of the story, is that the guys that saw this craft contacted the Ground Observer Corps. And that was a civilian organization that watched the skies for enemy aircraft during the Cold War in the 50s. So there actually was a whole group of people that watched the skies in the 50s. And I'm sure they saw all kinds of things, unidentified objects.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the dudes that saw it, the eyewitnesses that saw it, they thought at first it was probably a blimp, they said. But the longer they looked at it, they were like, that's not a blimp. We know what a blimp looks like. That's not a blimp. So when they called the Ground Observer Corps, the guy that answered scoffed at them and laughed at him. And he was like, you're not for real.
Like didn't believe him.
Didn't believe him at all. He was like, this is crazy. I'm not reporting this. And he hung up on him.
Oh, wow.
So then the guys called the police, and 2 police officers came out, and they took the story because the guys were obviously scared. And like the heat that they felt on their faces from that bright white light was actually burns. But they went to the St. Joseph Medical Center, which is right there in Towson, right outside of Loch Raven. And they were looked at, they were examined, but they were never able to come to any kind of conclusive evidence that it was any kind of burn, that it wasn't visible, but they could feel it. So it wasn't, what would you call it?
Well, it wasn't like, actual radiation welts or burns or things like that, but it was almost like a heat. Yeah. Would you say like,
I don't know.
It was kind of like indescript in the report.
Yeah, it was kind of, exactly. But, so then you said when you looked into it further that the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, they went and did forensics at the site to try to come up with some kind of conclusion, but they couldn't come to any conclusion on what these men saw. There was no evidence to close out the case. So it remains an unidentified object.
It's so crazy. And like when you go through this report, I want to get to the part because I just loved how they have a whole like Q&A, like they actually did end up. So here's like the Air Intelligence Information Report. I'm trying to find this one. So it's really kind of cool because they go into really good detail. So it doesn't look like a situation where, and of course, like their names have been redacted in the reporting. But it's interesting because like they're at Andrews Air Force Base, and it's not like they had time to sit and like, they're not getting a story together. It's just that like these guys, like they knew what they saw and they knew how to communicate it like very, very well. Yeah. So like here's just like a snippet, and I don't know, like I really just encourage you guys to go and look this stuff up because it's just so cool to have these reports in hand. Like ever since everything kind of became declassified, was it last year? Yeah. Like, I mean, you can have these records of just, and there's tons of them. It's not just like one-offs. Yeah. This random guy. It's just like there are a lot of these reports. But so he says, when we first saw the object, it was approximately 300 yards away. We were going approximately 25 to 30 miles an hour, which checks because he says the that was a bad road. So they probably weren't familiar with the road. But the road is like, if you're familiar with it, it's a very windy road.
Yeah.
Before you get over to either side of the bridge. So you either have woods on one side and then reservoir on the other. You're going around the reservoir. You know, and then you can turn around and go back, and then you have the reverse. You have the woods on the other side and the reservoir. So it's very, very wooded. And at night, so that's the other thing we were kind of talking about during pre-roll is like, this isn't right now. It's not, you know, 2024. This is 1958. There's no light pollution.
Yep.
It's not as bright.
There weren't as many houses.
No, exactly.
Yeah. It was a lot less populated.
Yeah. And so he goes on to say, this was rather fast for this road, and we slowed down to approximately 10 to 12 miles per hour and came within approximately 75 to 80 feet of the object. We had no way of telling the distances exactly. After we talked it over later, we figured out that it must have been approximately the distance that we were talking about. The electrical system in the car seemingly gave out as if you had your points go up, or somebody took the battery out of your car, or some other disturbance of this nature. I tried to put the ignition system on, but there was no whirring or anything. I put the brakes on the car, and we just looked at the object through the windshield temporarily. That's just terrifying.
They couldn't move, and they couldn't figure out how they were stopped.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is chilling. He says, then we decided to run out of the car and decided to put the car between ourselves and the object. It was a very narrow road. On one side, the lake, and the other side of a cliff. Okay, I'm trying to like visualize that. There was no place to run. We probably would have if we couldn't be. Wait, hold on. We probably would have if we couldn't. That doesn't make any sense. But we were terrified at what we saw.
Yeah, he's saying like if they had an opportunity to run, they would have. But there was nowhere to go.
This is what I was looking for. So, I love that, like, in the midst of all this, they go on to say, like, of course, the fact that the electrical system in our car conked out made us a little suspicious as to what it might have been. We figure or estimate the approximate size of this thing be followed by the following formula. And they have, like, a formula.
Yeah, I read the formula.
Which is adorable, and it's math, and I'm not even going to pretend to know what he's saying. But it's like, you know, C square equals A square plus B square, or C square equals 75 feet squared plus 120 feet squared. So if you're like, I don't know, I guess that's trigonometry or something. If you're out there and you can solve that, because apparently they did. So maybe they were like university students.
Yeah, maybe.
I have no
Towson
idea.
University is right there.
Yeah, it's like on the other side. But I just love that they were like, oh, well, we totally just like calculated it.
What did they come to? Like 120 feet or something?
Although we are not sure, we estimated approximately 100 feet long, since it occupied approximately, what does it say here? 1/3 of the bridge at the height it was at. We watched for approximately 30 seconds, and then it seemingly gave off a terrifically bright light.
Yeah, that's the light that they felt on their faces, and they got hot.
Yeah. So yeah, and it does go on to say that they thought it was like Navy blimps. So yeah, and then they called, like, no one believed them.
Nope.
Until the Air Force like got involved. And then
the police had to file a report. The Air Force got a hold of it, and they requested more detailed investigation.
And then it goes into, so when they actually get, I think it was a phone call. Oh no, a discussion. And he does say, the next day my face did become a little redder, and it was apparently noticeable to anyone who spoke to me. A discussion period now follows with Lieutenant Staples questioning, where details and further questions are answered. So let me see here. I believe you have a correction to make on your statement. And he says, yes, what I was figuring out was not the size of the object, but the Pythagorean theorem but the distance. So he like goes on to like correct his math, which I love. I love that.
He's very detailed. Another organized man.
Hey, we need more organized men, people.
There you go.
That's what's gonna save the world.
We've come full circle.
We've come full circle. We need more organized men. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so this report is just like amazing. But like I said, I was like kind of, going through it. One, it's so cool that it's like in our backyard.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think, really cool that he finally got some sort of, not so much closure because he goes on to say like that they
never came to any conclusive ending. And
there was investigations.
Mm-hmm.
And they went out and like took samples and
that one committee, NICAP, they went out and did the forensics, and they couldn't come to any conclusion.
No.
So it still remains unidentified to this day.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
It really is.
So this is kind of neat though, because like in the rest of this, when they were at Andrews, it says they go on to talk about like what kind of bridge it was and all of that sort of stuff. But what does he say here? You also stated the object in relation to the road and yourself seemed to be either over or a little to your side of the bridge and not beyond it. And so he agrees. And then he says, you seem to be using that as a focal point, the bridge. For what? And he says, for what? Like it was on strings. I am sorry I saw it. I wish I hadn't seen it. I'd rather not be going through all of this interrogation. I did see something like this. I hoped what I did see would add to the national interest or national information that would maybe help understand these things a little better. I do know that they exist now, that I have seen it myself. I am not saying that it was a flying saucer. I don't know. I do know there are at least such things now as UFOs.
Yeah.
And this is kind of cool because this is like the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Like 1958.
Yep. This is when everybody started talking, started paying attention.
Yeah.
And when did War of the Worlds come out? That came out around then too, didn't it?
I'm not sure.
On the radio, when everybody freaked out and thought aliens were actually invading.
Right. So then it gets back to that like argument of is culture influencing or is real life influencing culture?
I think it can go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of, books put out, novels put out where people were dabbling in sci-fi and, other planets and, extraterrestrial travel and all of those things.
That stuff exploded in the
It did.
That was like every movie.
Yeah, that's when it became popular.
It was like cult,
But that's when all the sightings started. It was in the 50s.
Yeah.
And who knows? Like this stuff could have been happening, but nobody knew how to say anything. I don't know. Or maybe they were scared.
Or who do you say it to?
Yeah.
Who do you report it to?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a small town. I mean, so they actually went to a precinct.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Towson is
the Towson
more of
Police Department.
It's
mm-hmm.
But if you're in a small town somewhere, like very rural, where are you going to go?
Yeah. And two, during the Cold War, I guess it would have been advantageous to the Air Force Base to actually, look into it because it could be some kind of enemy aircraft.
Right.
Being in Baltimore, we're so close to DC.
Yeah.
And a lot of really important people. I'm sure they were like, okay, whatever's in the sky around Baltimore, we need to research that.
Well, that's the thing. They sounded like intelligent, a couple of intelligent guys. It's not just like, and at least one of them was like 27 at the time. Mm-hmm. So, you've got these intelligent guys. They know who to report it to. Like, that's amazing just to begin with.
Yeah, it's true.
They knew who to report it to, but also, like he said, it's a matter of national interest.
Yeah.
Until next week. Bye.
Bye.
Together, we'll continue to seek the truth, to unravel the mysteries that lie just beyond our grasp. So as you bid farewell to this episode, remember, you are not alone. The wilderness is alive with secrets, waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to venture forth. We want to hear your stories. Email us at sasquatchandsourdough@gmail.com. Until next time, the truth is out there, God is with you, and everyone always ends up in the kitchen.